So basically, this is a video describing some of the things going on with the Institute of Learning and the projects I'm working on. But here's an interesting fact you've not thought about, or maybe very few people have thought about this, but the reason why we pay people for working sometimes, or actually most times, is because, number one, they're using their time. So it's like we're paying them for their time. But we're also paying them for their talent or skill that they bring to the table. Here's something I want you to really think about. This is going to blow your mind. Duluth and Superior total about 100,000 people. Of the 100,000 people, I'm going to make a very generous kind assumption that this is elementary school, high school, middle school, college, post-college. That I'm assuming there's at least 5,000 of those people. Elementary, so basically people from age 6 or 7 all the way till age 30. I'm just going to assume, very kind assumption here, 10,000. Let's go 10,000, okay? 10,000 people. Well, here's what God showed me today. It blew my mind. I can't believe it. There's 10,000 people. And on average, people spend about 5 hours playing video games on Facebook, on Twitter, watching TV shows, etc. So 5 hours per day. Let's use 5 days a week. Let's assume they take a break, which is a huge lie. I don't think they take breaks on these things. They do them Saturday and Sunday. Listen to how profound this is. That's 25 hours per person. Take 25 multiplied by 10,000. There's 250,000 hours wasted in 1 week by the young people in the city. Did you hear that? And the city is the way it is. It's a lie. No way. 250,000 per week hours. Think about that. Because think of how many hours you work per week and how efficient you are. What if we took the 250,000 hours, okay? What if we asked people to give us 1 hour a day, or even 1 hour a week for the whole summer? Starting at the end of this summer, that's what I essentially want to do. I want to reward people for giving me 1 hour a week, either with a book prize or something else, a gift card to a shoe store. Of course, I want them not to brag about the shoes they buy. And obviously, I hope they don't buy orange shoes because they'll stand out. But what I'm trying to say is this. We have 250,000 hours. And we have projects that are incomplete. I don't think so. Anyways, this is just to say, by God's grace, the Institute of Learning will have a year-long program starting in September. Every month, there's going to be a meeting for high school kids in the area who want to be leaders. And what we will do at those meetings is to try and teach kids what leadership is and have them start practicing leadership. The other thing that is very crucial with the Institute of Learning is that we want to emphasize to students that we can learn in different ways. And you can learn different things. But the main thing is you gotta learn. You have to learn. We've been designed and wired to learn. And maybe that's why your life is boring, because you're not learning. And that's why I'm trying to design it. So essentially what I'm doing right now is I have, right now, 10 people, some of them, of course, my students at school, who want to be a part of this, who want to start learning, who want to explain the importance of learning, who are going to be on this website. And here's another project I forgot to mention earlier. I met with a computer programmer last week, and I was talking to him about a concept I'm doing. So I've designed we're designing 5 websites serving different purposes. One of them completely for the math textbook, one of them completely for the Institute of Learning. Now, of course, the Institute of Learning needs to get accredited, and all the information, I don't want people going to a school that isn't accredited. But also at the same time, by God's grace, it's not just your typical school. It's a place where you're actually equipped and ready to do what you're being called to do. And so it's a non-profit program, mostly in the summers. Now notice that I said 5 hours. Now again, there's people who spend 10 hours doing all those things. But we're using 5 hours. And what I'm saying is, should you be willing and interested to work with high school kids to develop their potential so that they draw a picture which is sold and the money is used to build a well in Africa, now you're talking. Now you see how a high school kid who thought he had no potential has been able to raise some funds, and some of that money has gone to Africa, and he can save some of it for his college, and now there's less debt, and now the kid can live a better life or make better sense of life because he's saving, he's budgeting, and he's helping to build wells in Africa. And ultimately, it's not just about building wells in Africa and overseas. It's that people come to these wells and find the true water of life. Because you drink water and you go thirsty again. But we need to see there's a huge problem here. The trait for thinking is lost. People can't think as much anymore. And the only problem is that we're getting only more video games. It's not reducing, it's increasing. And so what the Institute of Learning is doing is taking people and doing that to them. How do I know this will work? Well, last week I asked someone to try reading a book, and I would give him an NBA game, basketball, and I'll buy him a basketball. Well, he read the whole book in one day. He hadn't read a book in a year, but he read the whole book in one day. Not only did he read a book, 3 days later, his 2 friends come to me and say, can I have a book as well? You just don't know. These kids have, young people have so much. I only counted the hours they have, but I didn't calculate the talent they have. And here's the problem, I think. The problem is sometimes we don't allow them flourish. We actually hinder them from flourishing. When I make you sit down and listen to a lecture on a topic that you don't care about, that's a problem. But here's the other thing. The kids don't know what they want to be. Well, here's what the Institute of Learning is going to try doing. Starting in 1st grade, children will have to start monitoring the things they love, the things they're passionate about. And what we'll do is we'll help them monitor. Why? Because when you're in 7th grade, you begin to grow, you love things more and more. So by 10th grade, there's nothing wrong with knowing what you want to be. Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, most countries in the world operate that way. When I was in 9th grade, you had to know what you want to be. And of course, in Nigeria and some other countries, it's kind of funny. In many countries of the world, this is many countries. In America, you choose your major. Okay, you get your major, you play around. In Nigeria, sometimes they choose your major. And I've heard of it in many places. And of course, that's because of circumstance and so on. And please, this is, again, I'm just saying, the world operates differently in other places. Let people not get locked into this idea that I'm in the U.S. and the U.S. is the only thing there is. We need to keep our hearts open to people outside the borders of this country. People far, far away, in different countries, in different parts of the world. We need to keep thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I've seen some talented people out there, but nobody is helping them take off. And let me end with this analogy, something for you to chew on and think about. When you have an idea, a small idea, let's weigh ideas now, okay? Permit me to quantify an idea. Let's weigh the idea as 20 decibels. Well, no, let's not use sound. Let's weigh the idea as 20 grams. Grams, ideas in grams, okay? 20 grams. If you have an idea that is 20 grams, and so this is your idea, but then you find out, actually let's use this, and then you find out that somebody else has an idea that is 500 grams, okay? Now, imagine that, so this is 500 grams, and this is 20 grams of ideas. Imagine if you could take your idea, put it together with the other person's idea. This person launches your idea, just like a rocket, and then lets go of your idea. Here's what happens. Your idea actually becomes like this. And their idea doubles too. Because they learn from you and get better, but at the same time, you learn from them and get better. So what I'm saying is that we need to be on the lookout for anybody who has acknowledged their talent. Notice I didn't say who has talent, because everybody has talent. Anybody who acknowledges that, wait a second, I'm pretty good at teaching this. Well, I'm pretty good at doing that. If anybody is willing to acknowledge their talents and their abilities, I am willing to work with that person. And of course, mostly in the summer, but depending on what the person is willing to put forth, we can work to develop that potential so that they can go back to their schools, help other people do that, and now you're building leaders, and talent is not wasting. But that's the problem we have right now. There's too much talent wasting away right before our eyes. The funny thing is, we bought into this idea that you need to be 16 before you become mature, responsible. The moment you can begin to think, become responsible. There's a lot more that could be said. The website, instituteoflearning.org, is being built. As soon as all those things come out, I'll update everyone. But yeah, just keep praying, keep thinking of ideas, send us ideas. amostarfa1@gmail.com. Our first thing that is coming out next month, and we're excited about it. It's our math textbook called Back to the Basics of Mathematics. It covers math from kindergarten all the way till Algebra 2, Pre-Calc, and Calc. The textbook comes with a website, with a DVD, with a workbook, with a solutions manual, with a summer refresher, with curriculum mapping, with every single thing you need. And here's the last thing I want to say, and this one sounds pretty crazy, and I'm glad we're recording this because 5 years from now when this happens, I want to be laughing about it too. Back in the 1970s, some guys, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, started a company, and of course, people heard that it was started by teenagers, and so they left the company and didn't, patronize them as much. But these guys had a vision, and they stayed with their vision, and these guys have taught us a huge lesson. I mean, Bill Gates said they were going to put a computer in every household. Well, now the question isn't if there's a computer, it's if there's 5, or maybe 4, 3. You know what I mean? There's a lot of computers now, everywhere. But somebody was willing to do something. The Wright brothers. You tell people, oh, we're going to fly, we're going to make a plane, and somebody tells them, what are you trying to do? Are you guys all right? Well, today you can get from one country to the other in less than 12 hours, which would have taken you months maybe. And so here's what you need to realize. I mean, even up to the level of the Concorde, if you really think about it. One of the things I think I'm going to do is just sit down casually and record videos and put them up. I think I'll start doing that regularly because it seems to bring everything to perspective. I met with a computer programmer, and he told me about another computer programmer he knew whose specialty was in social networking. You might have heard of Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, another dropout, by the way. But anyways, a dropout who knew what he wanted to do, and of course has done it, and now can give more and more to other things. But here's the thing that is interesting. Think of a social network called MathBook. All that is available on that net, the only thing on this social network is conversations that have to do with math, science, and learning. And what you do is you actually don't get to register and say you want to be a member. There's 2 ways to become a member. Number 1, your teachers have to nominate you, and then we contact you. Or number 2, you have to actually apply and say, I want to be a member of MathBook. And we will ask you why. And you say, well, I want to learn more. Well, what you're saying is you actually know why you're coming on board. But what will MathBook do? We are going to take a pledge that anybody who comes to MathBook cannot and will not remain an average student, because we will put all the resources on there for them to have what they need. So you can share videos of you teaching somebody else. You can put up everything. Anyways, God willing, 5 years from now, that's a huge project. And that's why I'm giving myself some time. There will be a worldwide program called MathBook. And what the program will be is a place for students from all over the world to come together, to brainstorm, to have chats. And that's where it's going to get a little pricey because we have to integrate videoing and so on. So I'm going to be meeting with a guy who's a computer programmer to discuss the possibility of MathBook, the cost of MathBook, and how many programmers I'll need to hire to do MathBook. By God's grace, I'm willing to pay 3 people full-time to program for MathBook. Not today, but later on, someday. I hear that sometimes you have to pay programmers over 100,000. And so I'm willing to do that. But what I'm saying is students need to be better connected on a better basis than just friends and sharing photos. Facebook has its place, but MathBook needs to be exclusively, in a sense, a place for people to learn. And I hope that as the geeks and the nerds begin to flourish and as they begin to impress their schoolmates, I hope they remain humble. Because nothing we have is ours. Nothing we have is, we didn't do anything to get it. Yeah, we can develop what we've been given, but ultimately it was given to us by the one who gave us life. And we need to acknowledge God. We can't take, pride in ourselves and get carried away. We can be the smartest people out there, but if we're not humble and if we're not just seeking to do what we were created to do, we're going to waste, what God has given us. So I pray that all this is making some sense. So essentially what I'm saying is there's no limits to what's happening. Duluth and Superior will not be the same way next year. Duluth and Superior will not be what it is this year, by God's grace, because of those who are willing to step up. This year, the public library has given me 3 days. 3 days as long as I need. And what I'm doing essentially is I'm working with a few young people, and we are going to tutor students for 3 days free of charge, helping them to better learn the material that they will be taking the next year. So we're basically going to help them get refresher courses for everything they need. After that, our hope is that they go back to school. This is the last Friday in August and the Friday before that Friday. I'm also hoping to do that in Duluth. And actually, it's going to become a summer thing. Every summer, the last 2 weeks of the summer will be dedicated to a coursework. And I will give the syllabus ahead of time so people can show up when they need to and leave when they need to. Eventually, I hope we're able to buy a piece of land and build the Institute of Learning someday. These are just some of the goals I'm thinking about. And let me end with this. In 2006, I remember I was back in Kuje, Abuja, Nigeria. And I was really at a phase in my life where I was really questioning things. I remember telling my parents, I don't want to go to college. They don't have my major. And they asked me, what do you want to study? I said, I want to be a motivational speaker. And there's no major called motivational speaking. Well, it exists now. It's called math coaching. But anyways, that is not yet on campuses, but watch out for it. It's coming to a campus near you, if they accept it. But anyways, if they don't accept it, we'll just do it. Yeah, that's our thing. But I drew a plan, and I pray I find this someday. I actually drew a plan for an institute that would exist. This was in 2006, 6 years ago. And today, as I'm speaking with you, it seems like the time is almost here. A big piece of land with a long stretch of road that leads to several buildings, a basketball gym, a youth empowerment center, classrooms that are really highly dedicated to, you know, people going out and doing stuff. An emphasis on service. Service. You know, when people had visions back in the day, they couldn't record it, but I thank God that we recorded this one. Have a great evening. Thanks for listening.